How do you like that matchup, Boog, a couple of days out?
I think that's going to be one hell of a matchup, dude. I just think that, if you just look at it on the surface, the first thing you got to do with the 49ers is figure out how to slow this defensive line down. And I think the Saints will do that with really quick passing, getting the ball out of Drew's hands, getting Alvin Kamara on the edges. And then at that point, when you flip it to the other side, if you're the Saints defense, I mean, they've been really good all year. How do you deal with this running game? So it's going to be an old school game, man. This is going to be a bloodbath. I think a really physical game, and it's kind of what the NFL is going back to. T-Bob, I know you'll love this. It's amazing how if you go back to when the Broncos played the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, how that was kind of the last time that I remember offense just trying to dominate defense. But even that day, Seattle won, and ever since then, we've kind of been trending back to running game, more physical. Now, I know that Mahomes and Kansas City has been the outlier, but when you look at the league overall, like we're getting back to running the football, playing really good defense, and being really physical.
Yep.
And if you look at the top 5 rushing teams in the NFL, they are 45-15.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And to me, that says a lot.
Boog, you were talking about San Francisco and that defensive line. Do they have like a couple of superstars, or just the depth that they come at you with?
They got 5 first-round picks, and they are legit. Superstars, I would describe that as like a J.J. Watt type. They don't have that yet. I think Nick Bosa can be that at some point. But you got Nick Bosa, you got Dee Ford, you got DeForest Buckner, you got Eric Armstead. They got Solomon Thomas. Like, you got a ton of guys that they just rotate, and the kid number 93, Jones, might be playing the best of all of them. He's not even a first-round pick.
Damn.
So they are deep. They can go. And here's the first thing you're going to notice when you watch the game. Watch how close they line up to the ball, and watch how those 4 guys come off as one. And it's going to happen over and over. They're going to be in those track stances like they're getting ready to run the 100-meter dash, and their only motive is to get deep into the backfield as much as possible. So, conversely, what are the Saints going to do? Screen, draws, traps. They're going to do things like that.
Talking to Booger McFarland, one more on the Saints real quick. How realistic do you think Mike Thomas is in an MVP conversation?
I don't think it's realistic just because our receivers don't get that much attention. But, you guys heard me. I've been pushing Mike Thomas for the last few weeks.
Yeah.
When we talked about it on Monday Night Football, just because I just look at what he's doing and how historic it is. Like, he has been phenomenal. And I get it. Drew Brees goes to him a lot, but you still got to run routes. You still got to catch. You still got to get open. He's been tremendous, man. Him, Cam Jordan, like those 2 guys have been absolutely outstanding for New Orleans. You got to give Mickey Loomis a lot of credit for extending Cam Jordan, because I would hate to think if you had to extend him after the season that he's having right now. So you got to give Mickey a lot of credit for doing that, and also getting the Mike Thomas deal done. And we'll see what happens after the season with Drew.
Talking to Booger McFarland at ESPN Booger on Twitter. Boog, one of my favorite fall traditions is the Patriots lose a game. And everybody talks about if Tom Brady's done and are the Patriots bad. They sit here at 10-2, but where do you stand on the Brady-Patriots conversation?
They're 10-2. That's kind of what I look at. I'm a big believer in, I kind of equate that to the Patriots like LSU. Like, people have talked about LSU's defense all year long. They're terrible. They can't get it right. LSU's 12-0. Now, I get it. It hasn't always looked great, but they're 12-0. The Patriots are 10-2. I get it. It hasn't always looked great, but they're 10-2. So at what point do we reward and talk about the finality of the record as opposed to the stylistic points that it took to get there? Now, I get there are concerns because of how the offense has looked. I get there are concerns because of how LSU's defense has looked. But at the end of the day, you got to give them credit for winning and give them credit for getting it done. Now, if it comes back to bite them, then that's a different conversation. But right now, 12-0, 10-2, I think you got to look at it that way.
You saw Seattle get their 10th win of the season on Monday night with a 37-30 victory over Minnesota on Monday Night Football a couple of nights ago. How good is Seattle in the NFC?
They're going to be a tough out, man. they have two very good running backs that play complementary football. Russell Wilson. If Lamar Jackson wasn't in the picture, I think Russell would be the MVP front runner.
Yep.
Followed by Michael Thomas. They're just a sound football team, man. And it's one of the more unique organizations that I've visited, because when you go up there, it's in the middle of nowhere, way up there in Washington, and you walk in the building and you get a vibe that's so different, man. It's a vibe like guys enjoy coming to work. It's a lot of energy. It's fun. It's jovial. Guys are flying around. And this late in the season, you don't get that. This late in the season, you always see guys are dragging. Man, not in Seattle, dude. It's different. And as long as they continue that, they are going to have a realistic shot of going a long way. Now, with that being said, the Saints went up there and got it done with a backup quarterback. So It's not like they can't be beaten, but they are. You're going to have to beat them. They're one of the teams that I think aren't going to beat themselves. You know, I said this before. I think more games in this league are lost than won. And what that means is really simple. Teams make a lot of mistakes and beat themselves. If you just hang around and don't make mistakes, you'll win a lot of games. Well, you're going to have to beat Seattle. I think that's the ultimate way I look at it. Come playoff time, you're going to have to make plays to beat them. They're not going to turn it over 5 times and beat themselves.
It's interesting you mentioned the energy up there, too, because that's like when I was playing, that's the exact same thing I heard from USC players about playing for Pete Carroll. Obviously, that same things we're hearing about LSU right now. Ogeron learning at the feet of Pete Carroll. I got a little hybrid LSU NFL question for you here, because this week, Boog, I've talked a lot about how Joe Burrow has that natural alpha it factor. And on Monday Night Football, I think you had a guy in Russell Wilson who does have that, and you had a guy in Kirk Cousins who maybe doesn't. You played a lot of football. Is that kind of killer mentality when the stage is biggest? Is that something that you think that somebody just has naturally? Can it be developed? Do you see it in Burrow?
I think, T-Bob, that's a great question. That's one of your better questions in the last 2.5 years that we've had.
Yes.
I'm just going to give you credit for that because I always knock you, so I'm going to give you props.
Hell yeah.
Let's try to get a few more in 2020. It's something that happens when you're very calm. So, you know, people always say it's an ability to be a playmaker and play the biggest moments. Yeah, okay, that's kind of a myth. Let me explain it. What happens is that you're so calm and you're so comfortable and you're so confident in what you do that when the moment comes, you don't think, you don't get nervous, you just react, and all you're thinking about is not can I do it, but how well can I do it? And I think that's the difference between guys who come up biggest in those moments and guys who sometimes are inconsistent. Because coming up big in those moments doesn't always mean you're going to make the last shot. But what it does mean is that when the ball's in your hands, you want the last shot. What it does mean is that when the game is on the line, you want coach to call a rollout pass to give you an option to run or throw the football. And I think that mentality is something that only comes when you have supreme confidence in yourself and your ability, and also you don't get nervous. Like the best players in sports, everyone gets nervous before the event. Very few of the great ones get nervous during the event, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Boog, one more on the way out. Ron Rivera out in Carolina. What was your reaction there?
Well, I mean, it's really simple. If somebody comes in and buys ESPN Baton Rouge and says, you know, I'm
we're done. We're out.
I mean, listen, hey, here's what I can tell you. I'm going to write letters of recommendation, but the first person they're going to fire is T-Bob.
Hey, look, mention that question I just asked, though, Boog. I mean, I'm just going to play him that. I'll be like, this guy's on Monday Night Football. Here's what he had to say about me. I got a job, no problem.
Hey, I'm going to try my best to save you, T-Bob.
My dog.
The first person that's going to get fired. You know?
Dude, I'll be your PA on Monday Night Football. I'll be feeding you hot football facts, so you can hook the people up with some knowledge.
Well, I would greatly appreciate that. But Jordan, to answer your question about Rivera, it's no different than that, man. Ron Rivera has been there 8 years.
Yeah.
You get a new owner coming in. He's the richest owner in the NFL. He's worth $21 billion.
Damn.
He's made sweeping changes. Yeah, that's a lot of money. He's made sweeping changes on the football side. The business side. He was trying to give the football side about a year and a half to see what he wanted to do. And he's basically got up in his mind, hey, this is my money. I'm going to do what I want to do. And so he wants to hire his own guy. I got no problem with that. But here's the only issue, is that football is similar to Bank of America or ESPN Radio or other businesses. But it's also different because the culture and running a football team and being a head coach is something that is not a skill that you can look up on the internet. It's not a skill that you can, I think, be born with. It's one of those skills that you have to develop and you have to come up with a style. And I don't think Tepper is a football guy. He's a business guy. And so I just wonder, even though he's worth $21 billion, does he know what he wants? And does he know what he wants juxtaposed to what he needs?
Yeah.
Because you got to know what you need as a football team, and I think people who are really good owners know what they need as opposed to what they want. And I just look at the Rooney family. There have been several times where I'm sure everyone wanted the Rooneys to fire Mike Tomlin, but he didn't. And Mike Tomlin arguably could be the coach of the year this year, and he's never had a losing season. So sometimes you got to deal with the good and the bad as an owner, realizing that being a coach is not your field of expertise. And so hopefully he finds what he wants. I mean, when you're worth $21 billion, you can do what you want to do. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. You're in Philly. You're in Philly on Monday night. That's a great take. Boog, have a great call on Monday. We'll talk to you next Wednesday after the Tigers have the SEC title in their back pocket.
Woo!
Hey, man, really simple. I always give you guys a key to the game, and here's what it comes down to.
Okay.
Jake Fromm isn't playing great. Georgia, at their core, Kirby comes from the whole Nick Saban tree. We know that. He learned early on in Nick's career before Nick switched to Lane Kiffin in the spread offense, run the football.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's going to try to run the ball down LSU's throat.
Bring it. I love it.
Joe
right,
covers here. Load up the box. All right, Boog.
Later, man.